On August the 4th, Slovenia was struck by extensive rainfall and consequential floods. Many roads, bridges, offices, homes and cars were severely damaged or destroyed, and many lives were lost. Expensive electronics devices in many homes and offices were completely flooded with slurry and muddy water. So I decided to help and try to revive at least some of them. Before continuing, I'd like to remind you that working with high-voltage electronics is dangerous, so make sure to disconnect any electronics device from the power grid before working on it. It is also important to test the device ground connection and securing all its high-voltage parts before reconnecting the device to the power grid again. It is also not recommended to operate a previously flooded electronics device before cleaning its internal components and completely drying it. A great care must also be taken when dealing with lithium batteries. They may catch fire if overheated or get wet again. I started with a house electric cabinet. The flood luckily hasn't reached it, so it was intact. Though some wall electric outlets were flooded, I was able to check and clean them easily enough. Next, I got a not working 60 ampere electric splitter. It was an older one, without rivets, and it was though easy enough to disassemble, clean, dry and reassemble. It was not working because mud-covered contacts in its on-off switch, which I was able to take apart and clean. Afterwards, the splitter was as good as new. However, I have also tested each of its outlets with a 3 kilowatt electric heater, just to be on the safe side. Next, I got a refrigerator freezer that was partially submerged, so all food was lost, but there was at least still hope to get the large household device running again. Its compressors are airtight and watertight, and only their electric contacts were exposed to the flooding water. A controller is located on the top, and it was never reached by the flooding water. After rinsing the compressors with clean water and washing a refrigeration and a freezer compartment with a detergent, it started to work again. The same story goes for the washing machine with a brushless electric motor. But the electric motor may still need lubrication. Completely flooded and later dried electric drill is much more of a challenge. Though it might work at first, its electric motor has brushes that need a good electric contact to a collector. Not cleaning them may cause extensive sparking and may quickly burn the collector. It is though not a bad idea to disassemble the drill and clean at least these two. Electric switches and a regulator have to be checked too. If they are soaked with muddy water, they may start to overheat and even start smoke. You may also get electrocuted when touching them. They should therefore be replaced or disassembled and internally cleaned. Mechanical parts might also need a new lubrication. However, cleaning and repairing all these requires certain skills and a lot of time. If you are not an experienced electrician, buying a new electric drill might be a better option. The next device on my repair list was an electric knife. Its motor was all covered with mud stains, not to mention its housing, but the latter was relatively easy to clean with a detergent. The electric motor had 2 paper washers on its axis to hold its rotor in a correct position during operation, but the washers seemed to have expanded due to flooding, which in turn caused the motor to turn slowly and often stall. Removing one of the washers and lightly spraying the motor with new lubrication and wiping it with a paper cloth to remove any remaining mud stains did the job. I continued my repairs on a number of old but still useful mobile phones from pre-smartphone era, which are preferred by many elderly people. However, I could only confirm that mobile phones often cannot be recovered only by disassembling them, washing their non-electronics parts with a detergent, rinsing electronics circuits with clean water and reassembling them. I guess much more work has to be done to clean the internal high-frequency parts that are usually covered with metal shields. Shields have to be unsoldered and the inside circuits rinsed and dried. Finally, shields must be resoldered to previous positions on printed circuit boards. However, displays and keyboards are often damaged beyond repair and they are usually hard to buy as replacement parts. I simply haven't had enough time to do all these, so I just did a quick test trying to start a completely dried mobile phone with a new battery. Unfortunately, all these attempts failed so far, which confirms that something must have been wrong with the phone's circuits.
Later, I also tested extracted batteries and 2 of them surprisingly measured 3.13 volts and 3.67 volts, which indicated that they might not have been internally damaged.
The internally flooded batteries usually inflate as soon as they are pulled out of the water and dried. Finally, I decided to test the still alive salvaged batteries with 2 working phones that were never flooded. The batteries proved to be in an excellent working condition. I had more luck with phones' chargers recovery. After washing them and cleaning the connectors, most of them performed well. However, there was an important difference between those with watertight casings and the others. The first were internally clean and started to work immediately after external cleaning and drying, but the latter had to be disassembled, cleaned and dried internally before reusing them again. It is interesting to note that I had two water-soaked chargers of the same make and type, but after cleaning and drying, only one started to work again. The other could have been repaired by replacing some of its electronic components, which I might do it in the future. A multimeter was next device that I was able to fully revive after discarding its soaked 9-volt battery. I did a complete disassembly, washed non-electronic parts with a detergent and thoroughly rinsed electronics parts with clean tap water. After dyeing and reassembly, I inserted a new 9-volt battery and the multimeter worked as good as new. The last on my list was a steam iron, which was much more complex to clean. As I disassembled the iron assembly, I found an ironing plate and a mechanical thermostat covered with mud. This proved that it would have been extremely unwise to even try to use the steam iron without internal cleaning. The steam generator assembly was also submerged and mud stains were everywhere. A full disassembly, a thorough cleaning and a reassembly saved the day. After that, the steam iron sparked to life again. If you liked the video, click like and subscribe buttons. You can also watch other videos from PCUSB Project channel. See you in the next video.